Welcome back to Peacock TV Spoilers, revealing how Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton reunite on Days of Our Lives. Can you believe it? After agonizing months of watching Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton live completely separate, miserable lives, the writers are finally laying the groundwork for a massive reconciliation. We all remember the heart-wrenching split after Sarah Horton discovered Xander Kiriakis brutally beat Philip Kiriakis in a terrifying moment of blind rage. That violent explosion shattered the universe. Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton built together, leading directly to signed divorce papers and leaving Days of Our Lives without the most charismatic, electric couple on television. Let's be real for a second. Watching Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton navigate Salem independently has been a tedious chore. Sarah Horton threw Sarah Horton's existence into working at the hospital, completely masking the deep emotional void left by Xander Kiriakis. Meanwhile, Xander Kiriakis returned to wheeling and dealing at Titan, transforming into a dull corporate drone working a bland 9-to-5 job. The only microscopic slivers of joy for fans have been the rare moments when Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton co-parent baby Victoria Kiriakis. If you ask me, this is a huge mistake, because keeping Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton apart drains the lifeblood out of the show. And do not even get me started on the pathetic romantic alternatives. Sarah Horton struck up a nauseatingly safe, platonic dynamic with Brady Black. Brady Black provides a comfortable friendship, but Brady Black cannot generate even a single ounce of the fiery passion that Sarah Horton shares with Xander Kiriakis. Brady Black is just a boring placeholder. On the other side of the equation, Xander Kiriakis has been making disastrous romantic choices. Xander Kiriakis fell right back into bed with Gwen Rizchek. We all know Gwen Rizchek is a chaotic mess who brings nothing but toxic baggage to the table. Xander Kiriakis made it explicitly clear to Gwen Rizchek that the bedroom arrangement comes with 0 strings attached, but Gwen Rizchek continually pushes for more, hoping Xander Kiriakis will magically fall in love with Gwen Rizchek again. Amazing. Does Gwen Rizchek honestly believe Gwen Rizchek can compete with the ghost of Sarah Horton? And then we have the incredibly dangerous, high-stakes game Xander Kiriakis is playing with Kristen DiMera. Kristen DiMera is currently using raw seduction to corner Xander Kiriakis into becoming a hitman again, specifically targeting Johnny DiMera to finish the deadly job Amy Choi started. These hookups with Gwen Rizchek and Kristen DiMera are entirely devoid of the soul-stirring love Xander Kiriakis holds for Sarah Horton. This current dynamic instantly reminds me of what Stefano DiMera and Victor Kiriakis used to orchestrate back in the day, treating human lives like disposable chess pieces. 5 to 10 years ago, Victor Kiriakis utilized Xander Kiriakis as a ruthless henchman who solved problems with extreme violence. Victor Kiriakis built an empire on fear, and Victor Kiriakis expected Xander Kiriakis to enforce that fear. Xander Kiriakis was a terrifying monster during that era. The only reason Xander Kiriakis evolved was because Sarah Horton demanded better. The absolute best outcome of the recent divorce was Sarah Horton delivering a fierce ultimatum, forcing Xander Kiriakis to seek professional anger management counseling. Sarah Horton insisted that therapy was the only way Xander Kiriakis could earn the right to be near baby Victoria Kiriakis. And you won't believe what happens next. Xander Kiriakis actually put in the grueling emotional work. With the expert guidance of Marlena Evans, Xander Kiriakis dug deep into the dark roots of the Kiriakis family trauma. Marlena Evans helped Xander Kiriakis unlock a calmer, cooler version of Xander Kiriakis, all while allowing Xander Kiriakis to maintain the formidable edge that makes Xander Kiriakis one of the most dangerous men in Salem. Now, it is time for the Peacock TV Spoilers hot take. And this opinion is guaranteed to spark a massive debate in the comments section. I personally believe that Sarah Horton does not deserve this newly improved, emotionally intelligent version of Xander Kiriakis. That's crazy, right? But hear me out. I passionately defend Xander Kiriakis because Xander Kiriakis has ripped open old wounds, faced the darkest demons, and actively changed for the better. Meanwhile, I ruthlessly criticize Sarah Horton because Sarah Horton is a massive hypocrite. Sarah Horton currently lives under the same roof as Xander Kiriakis for the sake of Victoria Kiriakis, but Sarah Horton uses the proximity to constantly nag, belittle, and judge Xander Kiriakis. Sarah Horton demands absolute perfection from Xander Kiriakis, while completely ignoring the toxic, judgmental flaws within Sarah Horton's own personality. Sarah Horton acts like a flawless saint, completely forgetting the numerous times Sarah Horton has manipulated situations in Salem. Xander Kiriakis deserves a partner who respects the intense personal growth Xander Kiriakis has achieved, rather than a partner who uses past mistakes as a weapon. Despite my intense frustration with Sarah Horton, the undeniable truth is that Days of Our Lives is fundamentally a better television show when Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton share the screen. Every single experimental couple the writers have tested for Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton has failed. The audience simply refuses to root for Xander Kiriakis and Gwen Rischek or Sarah Horton and Brady Black. When Paul Telfer and Linsey Godfrey step into the shoes of Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton, the raw, palpable chemistry absolutely obliterates every other romance in Salem. The electrical charge between Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton is the exact kind of epic, sweeping romance that daytime soap opera viewers crave. Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton belong together, and the writers are finally building a credible, realistic roadmap to navigate Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton back into each other's arms. So, how exactly does this highly anticipated reunion happen? Let us dive into some predictive lore based on the internal logic of Days of Our Lives. Peacock TV Spoilers. We've been tracking the historical patterns of Salem reconciliations, and there are two incredibly likely scenarios. The first theory involves Xander Kiriakis executing a massive, heroic sacrifice. We know Sarah Horton views Xander Kiriakis through a lens tainted by the brutal beating of Philip Kiriakis. To shatter that negative perception, Xander Kiriakis must perform an act of undeniable heroism. Imagine a scenario where Maggie Kiriakis, or baby Victoria Kiriakis, is placed in mortal danger, perhaps tied to the chaotic fallout of Amy Choi hunting down Holly Jonas at the Kiriakis mansion. If Xander Kiriakis risks life and limb to save Maggie Kiriakis, or Victoria Kiriakis, Sarah Horton will be forced to see Xander Kiriakis in a completely new, heroic light. This heroic act would instantly erase the lingering trauma of the Philip Kiriakis incident. But here is the kicker. Days of Our Lives loves a tragic twist. The second, much darker theory involves Xander Kiriakis facing a terrifying near-death experience. Right now, Kristen DiMera is heavily pressuring Xander Kiriakis to assassinate Johnny DiMera. If Xander Kiriakis refuses the deadly contract, Kristen DiMera might turn the crosshairs directly onto Xander Kiriakis. Imagine Xander Kiriakis taking a bullet or suffering a catastrophic injury, leaving Xander Kiriakis fighting for survival in a hospital bed. Facing the devastating reality that Xander Kiriakis might actually die would completely shatter the stubborn emotional walls surrounding Sarah Horton. A tragic medical crisis would force Sarah Horton to drop the judgmental attitude, admit the profound, unwavering love Sarah Horton holds for Xander Kiriakis, and finally forgive the past sins. Nothing accelerates a soap opera reunion quite like a heart monitor flatlining. A reunion between Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton would send massive shockwaves throughout the entire landscape of Salem. If Xander Kiriakis officially locks down a future with Sarah Horton, Gwen Rizchek will be left completely abandoned right as Jack Devereaux returns to town, setting up a massive emotional breakdown for Gwen Rizchek. Furthermore, Kristen DiMera will lose the ultimate weapon. Kristen DiMera desperately needs to eliminate Johnny DiMera, forcing Kristen DiMera to find a new assassin. And let us not forget about Brady Black. Brady Black has been playing the sweet, protective savior for Sarah Horton during the terrifying home invasion orchestrated by Amy Choi. When Sarah Horton inevitably runs back into the muscular arms of Xander Kiriakis, Brady Black will be left standing in the cold, forcing Brady Black to confront the miserable reality of Brady Black's own empty romantic life. The ripple effects of a Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton reunion will generate months of premium dramatic television. At the end of the day, the journey of Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton is a masterclass in soap opera storytelling. The writers tore Xander Kiriakis and Sarah Horton apart to force individual character growth, specifically pushing Xander Kiriakis to conquer the violent demons inherited from Victor Kiriakis. Now that Xander Kiriakis has completed the grueling therapy with Marlena Evans, the stage is perfectly set for a legendary reconciliation. We are witnessing the rebirth of a daytime super couple. Now, I want to turn the conversation over to the best fan community on the internet. Do you think Sarah Horton actually deserves the reformed, emotionally mature Xander Kiriakis? Or should Xander Kiriakis walk away from Sarah Horton's constant nagging forever? Drop your most controversial thoughts in the comments section below. And if you want to stay ahead of every single shocking twist in Salem, you absolutely must hit that subscribe button. Join the Peacock TV Spoilers family today and never miss a moment of the Days of Our Lives madness.